Today we're going to talk about a common scenario, business partnerships and sweat equity. The common structure is that one partner is the money and the other is the sweat equity partner. The one providing the work, and namely digital services like web design, SEO, or content marketing. The money partner needs work done and generally wants someone to do it cheap or free, which is when they bring in the sweat equity partner. In my experience, these types of relationships don't work out and should be avoided. And I've personally used my agency, digital marketing agency, twice for the sweat equity side, and I'll never do it again. But I'm not here to tell you not to do these kind of partnerships, but hopefully you can learn from my lessons, whether you are the money side or the sweat equity side. And so let's take a look at two of my experiences with these kind of relationships, and then the lessons you may want to consider that I took away. So the first example was an e-commerce site with a client of mine who owned a medical company, had a large patient base, and we were creating an e-commerce product off of that vertical. So my company did all the digital stuff from scratch. So we did the branding, we did the web design, we did social media, we did content marketing, we set up the entire e-commerce infrastructure, emails, and then we did SEO, blogging, ongoing stuff. So all in all, it's probably like $40,000 worth of work, and it took a really long time, probably more than that. So on the money partner side, their responsibility was to fund the products, but also to try to drive the retail side, to get in doctors' offices and pitch partnerships, and then sell the product to their patients as kind of a quick win. So initially this partnership was really good. We actually started making a little bit of money selling to patients and having some good conversations. And we also got a contract to buy the company out in addition to his company as a combined project within 6 months of launching for over 7 figures total. So I stood to make $200,000 because I own 20% of the company within 6 months of launching this thing. So you say, oh, that's great. Unfortunately, that deal fell through the day before it was supposed to launch, and me being kind of naive and not really understanding that it's not, a deal until it's signed, I went out and bought a $1,000 guitar and $100 bottle of scotch and celebrated, and boy, was that wrong.
What? What an idiot!
That didn't work out, but we continued to hit the floor and do what we could do anyway. We kept doing SEO on our side and working on the website. And what happened was the partner kind of along the way stopped doing what they were supposed to do. The retail outreach stopped, the doctor outreach stopped. They stopped selling products to the patients, and eventually we were the only ones doing anything, which for me was at some point became fairly unfair. So eventually I think just the whole project kind of just died, and we had nothing to show for it. The second example, we were approached by a company who was well-funded VC type company. They saw our particular expertise in a specific niche, and they wanted us to provide SEO services for a discounted rate in exchange for a percentage of the company. So that was a 10% percentage that I was going to get, and what we do is we just provide discounted services on their SEO. The idea was that they would continue to bring on lots and lots of clients. They'd have a big sales force, and the company would grow to this $10 million behemoth, and we'd all I'd get like a nice $1 million payout for 2 years of work, which sounds great. And they promised the world of this sales process and this VC money coming in and all this growth. What happened there is they eventually just ended up shutting down the whole business, and basically had nothing to show for it. So they decided that that whole business was going to get shut down. They were going to go in another direction. Meanwhile, we spent 6 months providing SEO for a discounted rate. So again, another partnership failed where it was on the partner side because our efforts were working
Oh, what a loser!
in both of these, really. So what are the lessons here for me personally? You can see why I don't like these kind of partnerships. Both times my partners kind of just stopped doing what they were supposed to do. And so that didn't sit well with me. So the first lesson is that if your partner doesn't live up to their expectations, you really have no recourse. You'll have done the work, especially if you're doing SEO or you built the website or you wrote the blogs or you did the social media. You did all this work, and then if they don't live up to it, what do you do at the end? You're probably not going to sue them. You probably didn't have something in your contract that said if you don't do X, then Y happens. You compensate me. And if you go into a partnership like that, you don't look very good anyway, because then you're not trusting, and you probably shouldn't be in that partnership to begin with. So that's one lesson I learned here. There's no recourse if the partner doesn't do what they say they're going to do. So another lesson is the contract structuring. So here's how people should probably look at the contract structuring. So if you're on the sweat equity side, your objective is to justify your percentage, and you can do this in one of two ways, or kind of like a hybrid combination of two. So one is you estimate the time it'll take you to accomplish your expected work, and then put a price tag on it. So a good rule of thumb here is to just use what you would normally charge. So what would you normally charge a client to do the same thing? So for example, if you build an e-commerce site and you normally charge $20K for it, and your money partner is investing $80K, then it might be reasonable to say, hey, I should have 20% of this company because I put 20% of the sweat equity of the total sum of that $100,000 in. So another way to do it is to estimate the value in dollars what you can bring should your efforts provide a predefined ROI within a predefined time period. For example, so let's say you do SEO and your efforts make the company $1 million, and so you should negotiate some percentage that sees you are rewarded accordingly. So that could be a tier. You make X amount of money in a designated time period, you get 10%. If you make $1 million in a designated time, maybe that's worth 30%. So maybe that's a win-win on both sides in terms of your negotiation. So this is a fairly obvious one, but the next lesson is get everything in writing, especially as it pertains to payment schedules. For example, define, do you get paid based on gross income, or are you getting paid based on net income? Does the primary owner get to decide if the company's profits go back into the company or to the equity holders? In other words, when you start making a profit, do you start taking money out right away? Because some people think they do, whereas normally a business reinvests in their company. So you need to clarify that with the partners. Do you get access to the books to confirm where the money's being spent? If somebody tells you no, you're not going to get access to the books, that's probably a red flag, and you probably shouldn't be a partner with them. And then do you have any say in the day-to-day strategy? If you're some minority partner, which I find most sweat equity partners are, then you may not get a lot of say in the day-to-day, So you should define that and determine if that's important to you or not. So here's some other important lessons. These are kind of related, these next two. So compare what it might be like to do the work for yourself rather than someone else. So for example, if a project will take you 15 hours per month over the course of 2 years, consider what the outcome would be if you just invested that time into your own venture or your own projects. Like, are you willing to do that? And then what would happen there? Would that sound more appealing to you than being a partner of a company that you have maybe a minority equity partnership in? On the other hand, another lesson that's related to that is if you have a good idea of what your return on investment might be if you guys are successful as a partnership compared to what it might be worth for your own company if it grew based on the efforts you put into it. So if you have an idea of those things, you might sway towards the different kind of partnership or just working for yourself. So for example, if you have 20% in a company and that company makes $200,000 a year net, you make $40,000, right, that year. And consider that if you put that own time to make that $40,000 that you just made with the partnership into your own company, would you make more money than that? If you put that time in, would you be making more than 40,000? Was it worth it? And then what would your company be worth? This is another aspect of that. It's not just the money you make that year, but would your company be worth more because you're a developer, you're an SEO, you're a content marketer, you're a social media manager? If you made 40K more a year and then you sold your company for a multiple, right? If your company made $100,000 a year and now it makes $140,000 a year, what's your company worth? Is it worth a multiple of that? So generally companies are worth multiples of what they earn, and it depends a lot of factors, but that could be something that heavily sways you not to be in a partnership. Say, hey, I can do this myself if I just focus on my own thing that I own 100% of. So those are my lessons that I learned. Again, I'm not trying to discourage anybody. I think there's a lot to learn there. There can be great partnerships. In fact, I see them all the time. Just the ones that I've been in, I just haven't enjoyed them. I haven't enjoyed the outcome. So personally, I'll never do another sweat equity deal with clients or whatever. Either I'm going to own the company or the process, or I will just not do anything for money. Like if you want to do something, you have to pay me to get involved, just as an agency. And just to review the reasons I don't do it personally: you have no recourse over the actions of your partners. You want to hold them accountable, but if they decide to not do what they say you're going to do, are you really willing to create a lawsuit or fight them on it or lose a friend? Generally, the answer is no. And if you are doing sweat equity, you probably don't have a ton of money to go throw at lawyers anyway, so which is why you did sweat equity. Consider that. So in general, I find the time is better invested in my own agency, in my own projects, rather than other people's projects. And then thirdly, it's just impossible to have a lawyer document every possible scenario that could protect you from losing your ass if things don't work out the way that you want, because things don't always work out. Partnerships are tough. It's not just the business and the money and the sexiness of a startup. That's fun, it's great. Leave that for other people. Either have people pay you for your time, in my opinion. If they want to do something, just have them pay you. It'd be better for your wallet and your company overall, and for your peace of mind. It's just better investment in yourself, or just own the thing yourself. So let me know if you disagree or agree, or if you have similar experiences, and thanks for tuning in. Cheers.